Hey guys, how you doing? Just wanna show my quarantine tank, just to share my experience. Why I ended up quarantining my fish. These are actually a new lot of fish that I bought 2 weeks ago. So this quarantine tank has been running for 2 weeks, and main reason why I did this is I got too excited and I bought 6 new fish for my new tank, and they all died of velvet. Um, it's an experience that I hope none of you guys have to go through. So, there's a lot of people that's wondering. I'm one of those guys that read a lot, and some people prefer to do quarantining. Some people prefer not to. Yeah, and it hit me pretty hard. It's a hard lesson learned. Anyway, this is my new quarantine tank. It's 120 liters. It's been running now for 2 weeks. These are all new fish that I bought, and these guys are on copramine at the moment, which I think is very effective. Didn't see any sign of stress from the fishes, even though it's on 0.5, which is pretty much what's recommended in the bottle. Some people say copper, it's better to be on 0.3, but I just did what the bottle says, keep it at 0.5, and yeah, it's working pretty well. So one thing though is that you gotta know when you do use copramine on a quarantine tank, especially if you have a reef on your display, is that whatever you use on your quarantine tank, you'll have to compromise. You can't use any of this on your display tank because you don't want any of that copper on your display. If you've done a lot of reading, probably know that inverts and corals are very sensitive with copper, but very effective against parasites. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's been running for 2 weeks straight on 0.5. I might in a week I might lower the copper to around 0.3. So that's 4 weeks, guys. 4 weeks of quarantining. That's because of the life cycle of the parasite. Some people say 1 week of copramine, but I highly recommend do 4 weeks. Patience is the key. So the good thing is that I'm happy with this batch. They're very active with feeding. Actually, I'll feed him a bit so I can give you a bit of a sample. I'll just get some food. I'll be right back. Okay, I got some food. I'll just give them a little. There you go. As you can see, very active fish, doing really well, especially that blue tang. He goes nuts every time I put that flakes in there. The flakes I'm using is by Ocean Nutrition. There you go. He'll finish that in no time. Very important, wash your hands when you do dip your fingers on the tank, especially if you're doing maintenance on your display tank, because you can transfer copper that way. So as you can see, they're doing real well. They don't seem affected by the copper. The first week I actually saw a few spots on the blue tang, but it didn't last long. It disappeared. You can see some scratching, so probably because of the stress of the quarantine tank. This Australian wild caught clownfish are doing really well. It's one of the most vibrant color ocellaris that I've seen, and if you see the size of that, it's actually pretty big. Not the typical ocellaris that you see. I also have 6 long spine blue-eyed cardinal. And I have a yellow goby there somewhere, a yellow clown goby, but he's always hiding at the back. It's not because he's sick or anything, that's just how they are. But he comes to eat every now and then. You can see these guys are crazy. They just so active. For filtration, what I did is I bought a AquaClear 50. I think it can go to 190 liters. And I bought established media, Matrix media from a local fish store. And I put it there, and also on my sponge filter. And that kind of instantly cycles your tank. I put the water from my display tank on this quarantine. Even though it's got velvet, doesn't really matter because you will cure it with copramine anyway. So you're actually cleaning your main tank, and the fish that you bought is getting acclimated at the same time to your water. So I do water change on this probably 20 liters every 3 days. So that's like a bit over 15%. And just make sure that if you're keeping the level of copramine, just redose. Testing is very important. You gotta test every time. Before you dose, test. That's all I can say. So this, if you guys haven't seen my display, I think I have a video, but that's a bit of an old video, so I gotta do an update about that. But yeah, I just hope that you guys don't go through what I went through. It's a hard lesson learned. I really like the fish that I lost. I got a powder brown tang, cold tang, a flame angel, a royal grama, and a para ocellaris, and all wiped off velvet. So my main tank will be follow in 4 weeks. So that means in 4 weeks it'll be 8 weeks no fish, where it should kill the parasites in there because they don't have any host. If you know a lot about the life cycle of parasites, especially the velvet and the ick, yeah, that should be more than enough time for my fish to be acclimated and done with the copper. So hope you like the video. If you have any comments, any suggestions, or anything you want to share, just put a comment down below. Thanks guys, see you.